In my previous lecture, I shared with you the theory of parental investment and the standards of the ideal partner in the eyes of women, the white knight. The ideal partner that women pursue needs to be able to fight for abundant resources for their offspring and have good parenting behavior. You may ask, if women have the white knight, what do men pursue in intimate relationships? In this lecture, I will answer this question for you. Men's ultimate dream, diversification of sexual partners. First, let me show you an experiment. Psychologists went to a university in the United States and asked male college students, if you could have a superpower or fulfill a wish, what would it be? The psychologists listed a long list of wishes for these male college students to choose from. Some wishes were relatively practical, such as falling in love, having many children, and living a long life. Some wishes were more magical, such as time travel, mind reading, being with God, and becoming a superhero to save the earth. These wishes all sounded fascinating, and the testers chose a variety of wishes. However, there was hardly any wish that more than 65% of men wanted to achieve. The only exception was that more than 65% of men chose the following wish: I want to have sex with whoever I want. That is to say, men's desire for sexual partner diversification far exceeds that of having a passionate love affair, time travel, longevity, saving the earth, and so on. That is to say, for men, the main purpose of coming into this world is to find as many women as possible to pass on their genes. Another survey also confirmed this conclusion. Psychologists surveyed unmarried American college students and asked them how many sexual partners they hoped to have in different time periods. Within a month, both men and women hoped to have one sexual partner. However, as time went on, there were significant differences in the number of sexual partners that men and women expected. Within 6 months, women still hoped for one sexual partner, while men hoped to have 4 sexual partners within 6 months. As time went on, this gap became larger and larger. On average, women hoped to have only 4 to 5 sexual partners in their lifetime. What about men? It is an astonishing 18. Of course, you may say, who doesn't have unrealistic fantasies in their hearts? Look at most men in reality, don't they only have one girlfriend or wife, and still follow social norms? Indeed, men in reality do not seem as thirsty as they appear in tests and questionnaires. The reason is simple: women have not given them so many opportunities. Once women give men this opportunity, men's behavior in reality will be even more intense than their desire shown in the wish list survey. A field experiment conducted at the University of Oxford in the UK clearly demonstrated this. Psychologists asked a beautiful woman to randomly approach a male college student on campus and say, "I've seen you several times on campus, and I find you very attractive. Would you like to have sex with me tonight?" 75% of men would answer cleanly and neatly, "Okay." The remaining men who rejected this beautiful woman usually gave reasons such as "I have an exam tomorrow" that sounded very reluctant, rather than moral reasons such as "I already have a girlfriend." When asked by the beautiful woman, "If you don't have an exam tomorrow, would you like to have sex with me?" these men would say without hesitation, "Of course." Apart from the expected phenomenon, psychologists have also discovered 2 very interesting phenomena. Firstly, when a beautiful woman says, "I've seen you several times on campus and I find you very attractive. Would you like to go out with me tonight?" only 53% of men say yes, which is much lower than the percentage of men who are willing to have sex directly. For a man, dating a beautiful woman is not a benefit, but a cost he has to pay to have sex with the opposite sex. The other interesting phenomenon is that when a handsome man asks female college students the same question, 47% of women are willing to go out with him, but none of them are willing to have sex with him. This result, compared to men, once again confirms what we talked about in the previous lecture, that women are more picky in choosing a mate. In the previous lecture, I mentioned that because men invest very little energy and resources in reproduction, they do not need to be very selective. But you may ask, don't men have any standards when choosing a mate? It's not like they don't care who they end up with, right? In psychology, there is a term called the zero-point effect that can answer this question. The zero-point effect refers to the fact that as the night wears on, men become more attracted to women. This is because men are particularly sensitive to the opportunity to hunt for sexual partners, and they pursue something called sexual accessibility, which means whether they can have sexual contact with the opposite sex. As the women in the bar leave one by one, the sexual accessibility for men gradually decreases. Because the closer it gets to midnight, the fewer women are willing to leave the bar with men and have sex. At this point, men will constantly lower their mate selection standards and relax their requirements for many internal qualities of women, such as whether they are friendly, responsible, independent, kind, rational, loyal, humorous, etc., as long as they are women who can have sexual contact with them. You may remember that in the lecture on the halo effect, I talked about how men prefer women with an hourglass figure and younger women because these are signs of good reproductive ability. However, as midnight approaches, men even abandon these standards. So, in theory, men want as many sexual partners as possible. But in reality, sexual accessibility is very limited. When ideals and reality conflict, men do not change their unrealistic expectations, but rather lower their mate selection standards. The nightmare of men, commitment. When men finally have sex with women and achieve the goal of passing on their genes, what happens next? In fact, men's most common behavior in sexual relationships is to avoid commitment. However, psychological research shows that when a wife says, "You are responsible for me and our children for life," men's feelings at this time are not relief, but fear. Psychologists surveyed married men's attitudes towards marriage and found that men have two common moments of fear. The first moment is on the night before the wedding. This is because the night before the wedding marks the moment when he is about to become a responsible and restrained person, leaving behind his free and unrestrained life. Therefore, in the West, there is a bachelor party specifically for single men before they get married, to say goodbye to their chaotic sex life and enter a monogamous family life. The second moment of fear is when the child is born. At this point, men are no longer independent individuals, but must take on the responsibility of raising the child. To raise the child to adulthood, men must have enough resources to ensure the child's healthy growth. This is why we often say that this society is a father's society rather than a mother's society. The reason why these two moments are fearful is that men must give up their multiple choices of sexual partners at this time. This conflicts with the male biological evolutionary instinct of maximizing the spread of their genes, so men develop an attitude of escape.